The height of Uri Geller's fame in Israel was when he appeared to know that Nasser, the president of Egypt, Israel's great enemy, had died. He was doing a stage show. There were hundreds of people at the show. He purported to kind of faint and feel ill on the stage. He then announced that something dreadful had happened to President Nasser, and the show effectively ended. A few hours later, the announcement came from Radio Cairo that President Nasser had died, and that was his crowning moment.
All hell broke loose. This was, of course, front page news. And Israel divided into pro and anti-Uri Geller.
University professors would be brought in, professors of physics would be brought in to investigate him and look at him from every angle. He'd be filmed secretly. There were persistent rumours of collaborators in the audience, although they were never found. Then the rumour got around that, well, it must be Shippy.
If he was in a room doing something and I was there, they said, did you look at Shippy? Did you see what he was doing? But if I went out of the room, then they'll say, did you look where Shippy went? And that was always the same thing.
The controversy fueled Geller's appeal. Then he walked out of the studio during his first ever television appearance when his supernatural powers failed him. By 1971, Geller's show business career in Israel had collapsed.
I'll never forget the day I had to perform in nightclubs, underground, dingy places. No one watched, no one paid attention, everyone was smoking. My career was really finished.
For him, it was the tragedy. It was the destruction of everything that he fought for. He wanted to succeed here. He wanted to make money here. He wanted to have a family here. He didn't want to leave, but I said, listen, it's do or die. If you stay here, your name will be mud forever.
In 1972, Geller went to the United States in search of a whole new audience. He arrived in California. It was the height of the Cold War. US intelligence services were starting to worry that the Russians had discovered people who possessed unheard of psychic powers.
For a number of years, CIA had been tracking Soviet work in the so-called ESP area. And they're really concerned because the Soviets, including the KGB, were spending millions of dollars every year on this kind of phenomena. They're very concerned about, well, what could be being done to us. They were specifically interested in whether individuals could extract information or get information from remote sites or from hidden material. And so it was critical to them to find out, just what abilities do people have.
Word had reached the CIA about an Israeli stage performer who had the talents they were looking for. Uri Geller was brought to the prestigious Stanford Research Institute in San Francisco for testing. 2 laser physicists subjected Geller to a long series of controlled experiments. In March 1973, they went public with their results.
This film describes a 5-week investigation with Uri Geller, a young Israeli. Nothing has been restaged or specially created.
The film contained some astonishing claims. The scientists said that time after time, Geller looked a hidden object.
You'll note he is very pleased with finding this target.
Using his psychic powers, he was apparently able to change the weight of a piece of metal.
The upper 2 traces are apparently due to Geller's efforts.
And over lunch in the SRI canteen, Geller bent dozens of spoons for the scientists. But his most incredible success was his apparent ability to telepathically read hidden drawings.
Day after day, he would come into the laboratory and be able to reproduce a drawing that I had made at home and had in an envelope. And day after day, Uri would be able to make absolutely remarkable copies of that drawing.
Here, the experiment is repeated.
Certainly with regard to the ability to reproduce hidden material, there's no doubt in our mind that Geller could do that.
This is the drawing that Geller has made to correspond to the target object. As you can see, He is quite elated about getting the right answer.
We had no idea about how this stuff could be done. We're sort of like, where were people with gravity before Newton came along? I mean, gravity worked, clearly, but no one had an idea how. So similarly, here's some things that we saw worked and happened, but no idea how.
Uri Geller left SRI with the stamp of credibility. Leading scientists believed he did indeed possess unexplainable powers. Geller once again took to the road as a psychic entertainer.
The Stanford Research Institute came up with an almost unanimous opinion that he was legitimate. Uri Geller.
I have this power of mind over matter.
You're reading my mind, probably.
Pick up 2 spikes in your hand.
Spikes?
Yeah, there are spikes there. Concentrate on this spike. Just tell me if it starts moving in your hand, bending. I'll rub it. Is it bent? No.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is, gee.
It's bent.
Geller's performances were an immediate hit. But not everyone was convinced that his powers were real. Some critics believed that the controls on the Stanford experiments were too weak. Others that Geller had been able to fool laser physicists who were not used to dealing with human subjects. There were even rumors that during the telepathy experiments, Geller had collaborators secretly transmitting information to a receiver hidden in his teeth.
There were so many accusations, from cigarette smoke to transmitters in my teeth. I mean, some of them were so ridiculous. And people really wanted to see, I mean, is it real? Is it not? Let's experience it for ourselves.
As the controversy mounted, the story reached the influential news magazine Time. Time magazine published a report stating that Geller's feats could be replicated by an accomplished magician. It cast huge doubt over his supposed superhuman powers.
I would have rather said that it's real, but that didn't stop the TV shows. On the contrary, it catapulted me into huge recognition, not Time magazine itself, not everyone reads Time magazine, but what it did to radio stations and television stations. They all wanted to interview me.
In August 1973, Geller agreed to appear on America's highest-rated talk program, NBC's Johnny Carson Show. He was about to hit the big time.
The Johnny Carson Show was it was built as like the most important show you are going to do, you know, and it's going to make you. So they already started instilling in his mind. So he was like, he's got to succeed and all that.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
We have only met.
This scares me.
This scares you? Well, this is we just got some things together here.
Geller began by trying to douse for hidden water.
What I do now is try to have a sort of a feeling where the water is.
22 million viewers watched as Geller failed to detect the hidden water. He refused to try any telepathy, and when it came to spoons, all he could manage was a very slight bend.
It was humiliating very much to sit on the show, knowing that the presenter is against me.
Can you see it?
Now where?
I knew that I felt the negativity. I mean, you could cut it with a knife. It was there, it was in the air.
Well, Uri, I don't want you to feel bad about this tonight. The monologue doesn't work every night either.
I was on like 22 minutes. It was very grueling and quite strange for me to sit there knowing that so many millions of people are out there watching and nothing was happening.